Yeah, well, you're I would not only great, but I would even say renowned food professional here in a pretty foodie town.
It's true.
You know, people are pretty pretty into their
stuff,
their restaurants and stuff. Yeah. You get
for sure.
So I guess that's a double-edged sword. You get to deal with people who know their stuff, and
people who think they know their stuff.
You know something? Did you know? And I bet the answer is yes. You're a chef. You're in one of the professions that has a reputation for being a drinking bunch.
Yeah, and I lived up to that reputation to the best of my ability.
Yeah, you gave it hell, huh?
I did it. I did the best I could at messing up my life in as many ways as I possibly could.
Oh, yeah, it's fun till it's not. When I was a kid, there was a popular syndicated show. What was it called? Oh, man. The chef's name was Graham Kerr, Kerr.
Yeah.
And I remember he would drink wine while he was cooking. He's like, and this calls for about a half a cup of sherry, duck, and then he would guzzle the other half. And he later got sober. He's like, oh boy, yeah, you guys all saw it. Who else did that? Justin Wilson,
Bourdain.
I think. Oh,
I couldn't watch his show.
Oh, the feathers in the back of my neck just went up when you said that.
I couldn't watch his show. I have been very fortunate to travel, and I've traveled to many of the places that he had on his show, and just watching him drink and watching the change in him,
I know,
was painful.
Agony. I'm right there with you. I waved off too, and he was such a attractive personality on camera in ways. I thought, look, he became a huge star.
Yeah.
Just on the strength of
his first book, Kitchen Confidential.
Yeah. Well, I even read Down and Out in London and Paris, George Orwell's book. You familiar with that one? I
am not, but the title, I think, pretty much says it all.
Woof. Yeah, he was poor as a guy can be, and working in kitchens. And this would have been 100 years ago in Paris and London, and there was not much in the way of
I can't imagine
cleanliness rules. Yeah.
I know what kitchens in the States are like, and I've cooked in several different countries, and I can tell you that safety and sanitation philosophy guidelines are not adhered to globally.
Yeah.
I was in a couple kitchens in Italy, and I'm like, I'm not eating here.
Oh.
I'm not eating here.
Oh, the greatest food in the world.
I had ravioli in Parma that made me cry. It was that good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I haven't spent a lot of time over there, but I was in France for a minute, and I remember thinking this, and this has been 30 years ago. I remember just at a cafe being brought a baguette and that little tiny cup of coffee they bring you. And I was drinking, I was going like, remember this, take a snapshot, because it's never going to be this good again. And in my limited experience, it hasn't. I've never had coffee and bread as good as they kind of brought you almost for free in the cafes there.
The French government controls the cost of baguettes. They regulate the cost of baguettes. It's €1.30 for a baguette.
How can it be so good? I'd put it in my mouth. I'm going, what is in this?
I just got back from Paris, actually, like a week ago. And French butter has 84% butterfat. U.S. butter has 60-something% butterfat.
Okay, what about this Kerrygold that I'm on board with?
Kerrygold actually has a higher percentage butterfat, but it's not. It's an Irish butter, but it's not as high as the French.
All I know is I think it tastes great, but I'm Irish.
That's why.
So, okay.
That's why. There you go. You're getting right back to your roots.
I know. Look, I'm both sides of my family are Irish. I've never been there. I want to go, but I can tell you that when I bite into a potato, something happens in my body that's not normal.
You feel like you want to do a jig?
It's like, I think I'm liking this a little too much, like certain other substances that you and I are familiar with.
Absolutely.
Can I circle back to this Bourdain thing? And I don't want to go in depth because it's heartbreaking. Watching addiction play itself out. You want to reach into the TV screen and kind of fix it. I was a working musician when I got sober. I had been working up until right before the end.
Right.
It was not working that landed me in a place. So there were certain professions at that time. I would say chefs. I would say musicians. I would say dancers. I would say bikers, drug dealers, and then the real bad alcoholics, salesmen. Everybody that I got sober with said, well, in my line of work, you just had to. Oh, you know who else is a wild crew? Hairdressers.
Oh, yeah.
What's up with is it chicken or the egg? For these professions, do people with bad wiring like you and me, or a specific kind of wiring, end up going into these slots because it fits, or what do you make of that? Anything?
It's a group of highly creative people who don't think like other people think. And I think in many cases, at least for me, when I first got into kitchens, I was 14 years old, and I was washing dishes.
It's kind of a calling, isn't it?
I'm like, oh my God, are you kidding? This is great. I can behave like an idiot, and I get to eat, and I get to drink, and all I got to do is wash some dishes, and this is great. But
it's also an intense work ethic, the prep and stuff before you really get to be the boss.
I've got a client tonight, and I'm going to go pick up my assistant here when we're done, and go shop and get all of our equipment together, and we'll be at that client's house at about 4:00, and they'll be eating dinner by 6:30, and by 9:00 we'll be on our way home.
Yeah.
But, it's taken a long time to work up to this level.
Oh, sure. Yeah. You have to deliver. I mean, you're judged on. I just saw a pretty funny clip of Jerry Seinfeld saying, well, you can claim to be a cliff diver in Acapulco, but we're going to find out if you are in about 2 seconds.
Right. Yeah.
That was a great example.
Well, it's like musicians. You get one shot to make it right.
Yeah. Well, it's. I was in an improv class in LA. The teacher said, "What's something that you've got a known professional competence at? What's something you've done your 10,000 hours on?" And I said, "Well, I've been playing guitar my whole life, 40 years." And he said, "Okay, how long does it take before you can tell if somebody's got their shit together on guitar?" And I was like, "Really? If I'm honest, 1 second."
The way they pick it up.
1 second. And I'm not trying to make this about guitar playing. I'm just saying that happens to be where I've done my 10,000 hours. And I was watching a movie that everybody loves that I can't enjoy called Almost Famous.
I haven't seen it.
Yeah, it's whatever. It's a Cameron Crowe movie about a rock band. And the star of it is this big, handsome movie star. The person I was with said, "Oh, it looks like he's really playing." I said, "He moves like a jock." He's this big, handsome guy with a guitar that looks like he's never touched one in his life hanging around his neck, and he moves around like a big, handsome guy that
just never played guitar.
Never struck out with a girl in his life and has that kind of, deal. And where I came up in Texas in the 70s, the big guys played football and the little guys played guitar because that was the only chance you stood. And it was a different world. There were 3 channels of TV.
Right.
There wasn't shit to do. So when you have that energy, and I would say that's when I started drinking and drugging too. When you have that teenage energy and you don't have a car and you don't have a girlfriend yet, you're going to do something with it. Nowadays, I think it seems to be going into video games. Every kid I know is so into staring at those screens. That's the way it is. It's the work. For my crew, it was trying to play the intro to Johnny Be Good right. That was our contest. As you said, maybe with your profession, there wasn't a lot of drug testing for guitar players. You could live like an idiot and maybe get away with it and maybe not.
The restaurant industry in general, the hospitality industry in general, runs on sexual harassment, prolific sniffing of drugs, and lots of alcohol. And if you take those 3 lubricants away, it's amazing how fast things kind of come crashing down.
How do you mean? Tell me more.
Well, back in the 80s when I started in like high-end restaurants, I was working in the San Francisco Bay Area and a very affluent suburb. And musicians like Eddie Money would come in all the time, and I'm only saying this because he's passed on.
That's okay.
But he was known to tip his servers in cocaine. There was a lot of that.
It was the 80s in California. This is something I didn't read about in a magazine.
Either.
I get it.
And that's just one of he was just the most well known.
That was the last time I fit into 27-inch jeans. That's all I'm saying. So, that train has sailed.
It was great. Like you said, it was great while it lasted until it came crashing down.
Yep.
And when it came crashing down for me, people in recovery talk about the burning bush moment. And I pretty much had a burning bush moment. I woke up just dreadfully hungover and nauseous and just feeling awful and ashamed of myself. And I thought, I got to do something different.
Oh.
I got to do something different. I can't keep doing this. I'm going to die.
And then what? What'd you do?
I called central office. And I don't even know how I got the idea to do any of this.
Right.
Literally, it was some sort of intervention, divine or otherwise. And so I called central office. I found out when there was a meeting. And the very next morning, I went to the old friendship club, the early birds meeting, 6:50 in the morning. And
Wow.
I figure, if I can start my day off like this, I've got a pretty good shot at making it through the day.
Were you one and done? Was that
One and
the
done.
end of it? Look at you.
I was desperate.
Yeah.
There was people talk about the gift of desperation. I was desperate. I just couldn't do it anymore. And there was a guy up there. He was speaking, and he had just been diagnosed with MS.
Yeah.
And he was probably in his late 40s, and his life was going to change in ways that were unimaginably awful. And I heard this guy talk about gratitude. The hell?
Right.
Your life is, as you know it, is over, and you're grateful? And something went on inside my head that just kind of said to me, I want what this guy has. Because there wasn't one damn thing I was grateful for. Not one. And so I've heard other people in this program. One is a mutual friend of ours whose son was a hardcore gangbanger in South Central LA and was shot by a rival gang member. And our friend went to the prison to forgive the guy who shot his son.
Oh my God.
What?
Yeah.
I want what those people have.
Let's get into it. What you're describing, the details of my early meetings that knocked my head off, and the reason I'm still here a long time later, one way to say it is it was attractive to me. It was, this ain't Sunday school. These people are my kind of people. Mm-hmm. Something in me knew for sure that they drank and drugged, had the way I did, and that they were not doing that today, and that they had a life that it attracted me. Mm-hmm. I don't think alcoholics and addicts like you and me are normal. No offense. We're not. I don't think we're like the other little boys and girls.
We're not. And I think I taught for a long time. And I could see the kids who I knew were going to struggle.
No, really? That's interesting. Tell me what you mean by that.
They're wired differently. They react to things differently.
What did you spot? Can you articulate that? Or was it an instinct?
There was, yes, for sure. If you can spot it, you got it.
Yeah.
And this one kid, actually there are two young men that I'm going to talk about.
Okay.
He was in 7th grade. This was 2016, so he's long since graduated. I saw his picture in the newspaper about 6 months ago. He murdered someone. He's going to spend the rest of his life in prison. When I knew this kid in 7th grade, I could have told you that that's how his life was going to end up because of how he reacted to things that didn't go his way, how he reacted to hearing no for an answer, and he was quick to anger, very quick to anger, which tells me that he's got some hurt that's in there that he hasn't processed, and that he's going to see the entire world through that lens. And he did. And this other young man, I care for him deeply. I could tell by the way he would handle conflict also that he was going to have some problems. And I can't think of one single person that likes to hear the word no. But I think as addicts, no is almost like a double whammy for us. Because we see everything through the lens of hurt or anger.
Well, thank you. For my for my peeps, they say the Irish aren't that smart, but we're tricky as shit. So I've had a set of car keys in my pocket since I'm 15, and I will tip the fuck away from a situation for whatever reason. By the way, drunk and sober. That's me. People look up, go, where'd Sherm go? Restroom? I don't know. He was here. And where I am is elsewhere because I'm a little shrimp. I've never whipped anybody's ass in my life. I'm not a barroom brawler, but I will find a way to get what it is I want in life. And we hope that today, living by the rules, these are positive things, and that I had a thing happen this morning. I'm in the middle of moving into a new home. This is this morning. I got a text from the new landlady, and we're off to a terrific start. And she mentioned somebody I know. And I said, oh, I know that person. We're friends. I've played with her music. And she said, oh, I know. I asked about you. And she said great things. It's, and there was a time, Mika, when if you did a background check on me, my blood would have run cold. What sort of a day did they catch me on? So that's living like a square, like we do now.
I was in bed at like 9:30, 9:30 last night.
Please.
And that was late for me.
I went to a jazz show last night, and the sax player looked out and said, the sun is up and y'all are still, you're in the club already. This rocks. And I slid out of there at 7 p.m. with no excuses.
All right, see, I got to bounce.
Papa needs his shut-eye.
Yeah. I mean, I woke up this morning, took a shower. I got into my own car. Life is good.
Yeah, and I always say I'd be easy to assassinate. It's like I'm on the same track all the time. I'm here at work at 8:30, grab lunch when the noon meeting starts. And I work here till about 4, and then I go home and watch MST3K and pass out. That's me. Not hard to keep track of me.
The things that I have learned in recovery were not skills or tools or coping mechanisms that I learned in real life. I had to learn all of this in 12-step rooms because the situations I put myself in did not offer those opportunities for me. I was spending a lot of time with people that were not esteemable, not trustworthy, and therefore I was not esteemable and I wasn't trustworthy. When I did a lot of my hardcore drinking in El Paso, and I moved up here many, many years ago, but every once in a while somebody will say, hey, I remember you from El Paso. And Lordy. I just wince and go, I'm sorry.
Yeah. Oh, that's exactly right.
Or somebody else told me, you should write a book. And I can't. Too many people still alive.
God, I'm reading your mind. You didn't mention this aspect, but for me, my mom had this disease. My dad did not. They were greatest generation, hardworking, suburban squares. But my dad was not a drinker at all, and his deal. And he was, to cut to the point I'm trying to make, he was a very good person. He was kind, educated, predictable. In the way that I said, I'm easy to find. Dad got up in the morning, said his prayers, drank his coffee, smoked about 30 cigarettes, and went to work, paid his bills, was nice to his family, came home, watched Gunsmoke, and went the fuck to sleep. That was his life for the years that I knew him. So honest. I never knew him to tell a lie. It just wasn't in his... he wasn't wired that way. And if he told you something on Wednesday, his story didn't change on Thursday. The shit was always, he was beloved. He was a really neat guy and people loved him. And so I had that as an example under the roof with me, and I couldn't get there. It was like seeing somebody play piano. It's like, God damn, I wish I could do that. I mean, I can't. I won't put in the work, but boy, that looks good. So him being brave and honest and simple, but again, not a dummy. He was well educated, but 2 and 2 made 4 with the old man. He was not slippery. There wasn't a slippery bone in his makeup. In a way, that was a frustration to me. That it was like, well, that I was on a different program, Mika. That was not me. I was slipping and sliding, peeping and hiding because I had to stay high, and I did so much illegal stuff. Not in a. Just look, driving drunk is illegal. Taking drugs is illegal, or was. Some of the drugs I was devoted to are now there's 300 stores on every corner. But I'm an addict. I'm an addict, and it's the green stuff or the white stuff or the liquid stuff. It all, the pills, anything that changes my head, I had a problem with back then. One thing that we mentioned briefly was the way you came in and were done. I came in, I was done. It was attractive to me because, what was the one you told? A guy had MS, you said. For me, it was a completely different one. A fella got up, and it was easy to see that he had just recently had a stroke. He's 50 years old, let's say. And he said something pretty off color. I won't go into it here because it would distract the conversation, but it brought the fucking house down. It was one of those large LA meetings. I don't know, 100 people, 200 people in it. And he got up and he said something about how having a stroke had affected his sex life. I'll go that far. And it blew the roof off the place. Now I've got, and I mean people laughing, like almost falling out of their chairs, and me too. Because I got a dirty sense of humor. You can trust me on this. So, that's one of the 10 things that happened in my first month that went, I can hang with these people. These are my people. And they were sober. And it had been years since I could leave that shit alone for 15 minutes. Something in me felt like it was done. I can say that now 31 years in, no relapse yet. That's just a feel. That's in the literature too. A guy goes, I had a feeling I was done, which turned out to be the case. And I remember reading that in rehab going, I'm kind of there because I was so, for me, I'm such a physical addict and alcoholic that to be I was thrown in a hospital and put on detox drugs for a few days. And so when I sort of came to, the Jones was gone and has never returned. And it has certainly never seemed like a good idea. I was so happy to be let out of the slavery of drug addiction. I just have to tell my truth. In all this time, I have never said, well, maybe I didn't really have addiction real bad. I've never thought that. And I've never thought, it'd probably be all right to go back. That'd be cool. No. But that's for me because I had, for me, a very low bottom. And that was I was beaten into a state of reasonableness. Are you still surrounded by drinkers and stuff in your work life?
The people that I bring to work with me are not drinkers. The people that I have in my social life are normal drinkers. Like they can leave a glass of something half full.
I just saw a meme on Facebook that said, if I could drink normally, I would do it constantly.
Right. Yeah, absolutely.
Again, we're zebras. That's my deal. I feel like, we kind of look like horses. We can kind of hang out with horses for a minute, but we're not. We're zebras. And I'll go further. There's something about our tribe that getting together in a group pretty often and closing the doors and telling our truth helps.
Tremendously.
It's something about that. It's like warming by the fire. And it's not easy to... That's why they say when you get into recovery, try 90 meetings in 90 days because some of them stink. I know people who say they've never been to a bad meeting. I'm not one of those people.
I have been to a bad meeting, and I'm like, I think, you know what? Okay, so I'm an addict. If a little bit is good, a lot is better.
Sure.
And so I didn't, right? I didn't do 90 meetings in 90 days. I think I did 120 in 90 days. And by my last meeting, I'm like, I can't do this anymore. But I was officially indoctrinated.
I'm sorry, you can't do what anymore? That many meetings or getting high?
I can't sit and listen to this for one more minute.
Oh.
And so I needed a few days to just decompress.
I see.
Yes, too much of anything.
Well, if I'm honest, this is one. I'm one of the old timers who actually love Zoom meetings. Not all old timers can tolerate them at all, but for me, it enables me to to put up with the boring or awful parts a little better if I'm in my own house with a cup of coffee and
in your pajamas.
Yeah, well, I guess I usually have the camera on, so I at least have a hat on because I hate being bald. But yeah, I'm generally clothed from from boots to hat. That's me. I'm a morning person too.
During COVID, I found two meetings. There's one. It's called WIM, and it's a 24-hour women's meeting. That's on Zoom, and it's global.
Great.
And then there's another one that I do about 4 times a week, and there are people from all over the country. We actually had a guy from London. There was another guy from Ireland. There was a guy from Australia that was in it. And I do that. I do those four or five times a week. When I don't do meetings, I get the itchy bitchy twitchy.
Sure. And
I feel
come
like
for the drinking, stay for the thinking. That's me for sure.
Yeah.
I don't come for new information. Right. I don't get a lot of new information out of meetings. It's rare. It happens, but not really. It's my brain leaks. I forget that our main job as recovering addicts is to stop worrying about ourselves so much and more about what we can put into the world and do for others. I forget that almost every day, which is kind of weird. You would think I would be Jesus or Gandhi by now. And Mika, I'm not, as it turns out.
It's a daily process. But when you were saying that we're zebras, the way I have defined my own addiction, it was as if a switch got turned on and that switch will never go back off.
I know. I think of it as a pilot light. It's down in there, and if I pour a bottle of whiskey on it, she's back. And that part never. I'm also diabetic. There are things I can't eat and things that I have to take that if I don't do that, who am I kidding? And that doesn't go away. What's treatable is the thinking of, it'll be fine, whatever. What harm did tequila ever do me? Hand it over. What's the worst that could happen? At 64, by the way, I'm not ashamed of being an old guy. I got sober at 32. And if I can keep the plug in the jug a couple more months, I'll be 32 years sober. So isn't that weird?
In a couple of weeks, I'll have 18 years.
Oh my God, that's fantastic. Well, it shows. You are really one of the people whose recovery is very visible and very attractive to me. It's like if it's if it's done that you shoot a straight game of pool. I really like your style.
I've learned all of this in recovery. And when I look around at the people around me now, I'm proud of my friends. I'm proud of who I am.
Now you're solid. You got that.
I just finished my master's.
In what?
Sustainable food systems. But when I got sober
Congratulations. While you're working as hard as you work. I love it.
3 jobs. Addicts we're not wired the same way as everybody else. And
I left the factory with no fucking brakes. I got a good engine. I got pretty good steering. I got no fucking brakes.
Not
I never did.
Nope.
I was given a guitar because I'm pretty low on guitars. I'm down to about 20. I got given a guitar and I put it in the shop and I got it out last night and I was up late for me. Bonding with it and trying to get the hang of songs I've been playing since I'm 20. It's so silly. I'm got such a, I think in a different context, what do they call it? A OCD. One of those things. Like I think you have to be a little funny to practice the same stupid lick 32 trillion times. I don't think a normal person.
Or to cut an onion 32 million times.
Yes.
Yeah. But here's what I learned in 2005 when I finally got
so
sober.
Funny about the onion. I'm going to remember that.
2005, 2006. I don't. I have 18 years this year, so whatever that is. I had to approach being sober the way I approached drinking.
Yeah.
Which was with everything.
Yeah.
I left no stone unturned to get drunk, and I had to leave no stone unturned to stay undrunk.
Great myth among not us types who say that our problem is lack of willpower. I'm like, no, willpower. You could drop me into any town in America with $20 in my wallet and I would find what I needed.
Absolutely. You could drop me in any town in the world I would
walk across a lake to get to that shit.
We were walking in Paris and I look over and I see something shady going on. I'm like, yeah, I know what that is. Yeah, yep. It doesn't matter.
That's right. See, that's why I like being a sober drunk is we know stuff the other little boys and girls don't. I'll end with this because we do 30-minute episodes and we're there. And thank you for coming by.
Thank you for asking me.
This flew by like an instant. I was in a recovery meeting and a newcomer came up to me and said, they're about to cut off my lights if I don't give them $75. That's not what I owe them. But if I don't give them $75, they're going to shut off my lights. And you know how hard it is to get them to turn it back on once that's happened. Could you help me out? And I said, well, I don't know if I have the whole 75, but I'm good at working a deal. So let's go over to the grocery store where you can pay your bills and I'll see if I can help. And the guy said, Actually, it'd be just better if you just gave me the cash. I'm like, we're done talking now.
Yeah.
Nice to go try that with Aunt Mabel. You're in a 12-step meeting now. Homie, don't play.
Yeah, right. We've all said that, done that. We've all told that lie. Come on.
Okay, I look forward to my next meal from you. You're the best. Thanks for coming in, and congratulations on your recovery.
Thank you.